There you go.
Look at that.
What? Did you just?
So,
Did you just?
so you were saying something about the Canary Islands.
Yeah, the Canary Islands where I'm sitting right now are they're actually deemed by scientists. Scientists analyzed which is the best climate for humans to live in the world, and number one is the Canary Islands, and number two is San Diego. So I'm sorry, but maybe a little consolation is that it was an American guy in San Diego that told me that, like a 50-year-old guy who really likes to talk about scientific ideas. Yeah.
Excellent. So, what's the topic this week?
Well, we decided to talk on the topic of medical cannabis and cannabis, right?
Yes.
And I know this is what your branding is all about. So I'm not too much of a branding person, I guess. Well, but I'm all about medical cannabis. I've had maybe like a 7 or even longer year journey of putting my interest or my research into this topic. And yeah, so lots to say. How about you? I don't know that much actually about your story with cannabis, except that you post funny stuff.
So you had mentioned that it's all about, my branding's all about cannabis, which isn't the case. I'm one of those people that, like, I negotiate with the universe and I put out intentions for what I want to create in the world. And then when it doesn't show up perfect and it shows up in certain ways, I move that way. So even when you were around, I didn't partake in cannabis.
Yeah, right. I remember. Yeah, I've never seen you smoke cannabis around me.
Yeah, before 40, I had only smoked. I had smoked less than 10 times, maybe less than 20 times. No more than 20 times, all the way up to before 40. And after 40, I used to joke that I was because I was spending a lot of time with college students. I used to joke that I was smoking around them, so they just didn't think I was a narc. Because I was hanging out around a bunch of college students, hanging out at their parties and everything, and I just said, "Oh, I smoke just so they don't think I'm a narc." But there was a guy, Alex, who had ended up moving in with Mason at some point. But Alex was a guy that I met at this SDSU Jedi camp, something that I created with another guy, Kevin, that you know, and didn't show up because we only had started it the week before. And all of a sudden, this one guy, Alex, shows up, and I'm not going to go in because I said his name. I'm not going to go into like specific stuff, but he kind of had some ideas that needed a little shaping. So I would go hiking with him to kind of ground his ideas a little more. And I was learning stuff about him. So some of the spiritual stuff that I believe in, he would find ways to prove them scientifically. He would look at evidence. He was a skeptic of it. I don't look to necessarily do that. And that's the same way that I am in the cannabis space. But I turned out that when I went hiking with him, because he's a Boy Scout, he was into guns and a lot of different stuff. When I go hiking with him, he would smoke me out. And that's when I started smoking. And I was like, yeah, we're out here hiking and everything. Why not try edible? I said no for the first times that we did. And I was like, yeah, why don't I do it? Because in my leadership style, I believe you can be a better leader by being a follower. So that's what got me into the cannabis industry, because I became a Bob Marley impersonator after that. And then a lot of my corporate stuff, they just didn't see the connection, even though the Marley estate's worth over $100 million. They didn't see the connection between even I was staying away from cannabis still with my team building and corporate stuff. But it came to a point that I was like, am I going to hide part of like who I am? Even though I don't, weed is a small part of who I am. I believe your body naturally can produce those cannabinoids, and it's a natural thing. And sometimes you don't have to outside force, but also I feel it's okay to do it. So it was my negotiation with the universe for that. But in 2019, I was never pro cannabis, because I always thought pro cannabis was like, oh, nobody's ever gotten injured smoking weed. Nobody's ever gotten in a car accident being high. I thought of that as pro cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, I don't like to be anti or pro anything unless it's like pedophiles. Like, I'm anti-pedophile. I'm gonna stick my neck out on there, because I think it's important to be able to see an outside perspective, and meditation teaches you to be connected but unattached to things. So if you're like so pro something, you can't really see what's true and what's not true. Does that make sense?
Total sense, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for me, when I went to my first cannabis event and I talked to military people, not a lawyer, not somebody that was representing a company, military people that said I was on 22 mainstream pharmaceutical drugs, and cannabis got me off of that. And like looking in their eyes and seeing that changes, and then researching that. And then I heard some SDSU study that I heard from a conservative that was totally anti-marijuana. When medical marijuana came around, less San Diego State students or colleges, I don't know how far their research went, were committing suicide. So because medical cannabis kept more San Diego State students from committing suicide. So I was like, that was a big step for me. And then you'd see some things with the oils for like some military people that were like all anti-drugs. Mm-hmm. And then they use the oils for some of their kids for seizures, and I started to see the power of it, even though I feel like even at this point I don't need it, but I do it I smoke probably about 2 ounces a year, which mm-hmm. half of it's probably my parties, and then half of it's like random. And I give around.
How much is 2 ounces for our European friends?
See, we were gonna, when I was in 3rd grade, we were gonna learn the metric system, and we're supposed to be on the system like a long time ago. Yeah. We never got there. So do you know how much?
Wait, I'm checking 2 ounces. Yes. 2 ounces in gram is 56 gram. Okay, 56 gram. Even that makes no sense to many people. So okay,
even that. But I know some and it might be folklore, but some rappers will do that a day, like an ounce a day. Mm-hmm. I've seen crazy. Like a day. That's 365.
You build up a tolerance, yeah.
Yeah. So and half of that's at my parties, and then it's just like it's random. And for me, it's all about the community of it, and community's healing too. And the healing, and some people that might not necessarily be open to different types of healing practices, those healing goes on at my events. So what's your perspective as far as from medical cannabis and what you've come across?
Yeah, at the moment I haven't been smoking cannabis like for a long time now, for a couple of months for sure. Maybe like 1 puff or something on the weekend or something, but because I feel like for me, like just I'm talking about the recreational use right now. It depends. There's times where I feel like it's blocking me. It definitely gets you more in touch with your feelings, to the point in both directions, positive and negative. You can be really, you can laugh a lot with people, but you can also get really sad. And that is definitely a healing thing, because it gets you in touch with your emotions. But it also, similar to alcohol, like takes away energy for the next day you want to work. I think it depends what kind of work you do. If it's mental work, for me, it hinders my work, sometimes it makes me slow. When you have to concentrate and have to multitask and think about think about a lot of things at the same time, and complex work, then I feel like my brain, especially like I know it exactly when way in the past I smoked a lot or inhaled a lot, because I recommend inhaling. Of course, smoking is usually not the best way, but I remember that my mind just doesn't focus, doesn't and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing for society, but it's just a bad thing for that job, you know. So that's the question, you know. Maybe if I had done that, I would have lost my job, but maybe that would have been a better thing, you know. So I'm just saying the direct cause and effect thing that I didn't want to have. It's kind of a loss of control. Yeah, loss of control, a little bit.
I think that goes back to being pro. Like for instance, I don't smoke. I rarely smoke during the day. And part of it is like all of a sudden say I smoke right now, then I can't do lift for a while. And trust me, passengers think I'm high all the time when I'm not. Because I'm very relaxed. I say high shit like all the time, way before I say high shit. Because I got a lot of those cannabinoids, and I got that crazy look in my eyes that somebody that's high.
Like Bob Marley. I mean, what are they going to expect? You know, I thought the same thing when I saw you. Somebody that smiles and has dreadlocks automatically is high. It's no question.
Yeah, it's that I'm just like, I got so much like of that same energy going on through me. That's causing that. And a lot of people can't get to that place, that dependency, without doing that. So in their world, that's just their path. They can't see it, so it's not possible.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because one of the things with Lyft is I drive like perfect. And so people are like, that might think that, say the small percentage that would be bothered with, because I think like a lot of people think, oh, it's legal. It's like, well, people should like not have to have a driver be too high when they get in their car. Like that should be like a common thing. I mean, that's not asking that much. Same with drinking. It's like you chose to take this car, a lot of them, because they want to go home from the bars and make it home safe. So can they expect their driver not to be drunk or be way too high?
Although I heard about one study that like people that smoke regularly are not necessarily bad drivers, but people that smoke like once in a while, they are definitely losing some control. Yeah. So, but that's just one study. Yeah. So I don't know if it's true. But I want to talk more about medical cannabis, because that's really where I think where we can help people, you know, because I have a lot of knowledge on medical cannabis and or just cannabis and cannabis oil and cancer.
I had a baseball coach. I'm gonna cut you off because you said this a couple times. I had a baseball coach that used to always talk about how much he knew about baseball, but he didn't like show it.
Yeah. I felt the same thing when I just said it, but it doesn't matter. Like I mean, I don't know a lot about it actually, but I know I try to know a lot about it. Yeah.
No, you know more than me. Like my parties are all about experiential, and I'm like not like, I think the best way is not to explain what meditation is, but to have somebody experience it. Same thing with cannabis, but also research is important. My cannabis wellness party, we do some research.
Yeah,
I do some research through my organization and everything, and then I send it to my video guy to put it in a video, or I put it into an image, but I never read it.
Yeah, you don't have to. I never read it because I'm high. That's proof enough. It's proof enough.
I didn't do the research.
You know, I firmly believe in research, but I believe that there is that the human interpretation of research, this filter and corruption on top of it, is so strong that people overestimate what we hear about research. You know what I mean? Like there's corruption, and then there's a human misinterpretation of data. And so those two together, they're so big, you know, that people are totally overestimating research, and they're underestimating like just experience, personal experience. And that's so sad, you know. Like
that's a good thing. And I think this is a good conversation, but then I really want to get into the other part, because I do think this is an important thing. I break down the word research is you're researching for information. And say I work in a lab and we want to create this so we get funded, creates jobs for people and everything. And what are we doing with the research is an important thing. Do you know every time that you Google some information, that's millions and millions of dollars of research?
Yeah, crazy.
But how are you using it?
Wisdom.
Yeah, how are you it's just knowledge.
Yeah.
Wisdom would be applying it, but it's there, but we take it for granted because it's so readily available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How can we leverage that information? And then I believe the healing is so important, is grounding yourself to, when you have that information, being able to apply it. And not just, I want to search more for the best thing. And then all of a sudden you're watching porn.
all of a sudden.
You're searching Paris, and then you're searching Paris Hilton, and then you're going to travel to Paris Hilton. And then you like all of a sudden a video of Paris Hilton.
Yeah. So for me,
I said that I had a mentor program at a high school that I did, and I said that exact same thing to the student. But it wasn't about cannabis, but it was about searching online and how it's distracting. But it's like it's so scripted that even if somebody came to me and said that, I was like, oh no, I didn't mean that. I see how they thought that.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, for me, I was the first thing that started this journey on wondering about medical cannabis is, I'm not going to tell you about my youth and that I didn't smoke for like 10 years, and then I started because with a friend just to try. That was all recreational, so that's all boring, that's a story that you can find in any corner. But the more interesting thing is this medical cannabis story. So I first watched this Rick Simpson documentary, which is quite famous. It's not very well done, but it's apparently done by a bunch of elderly people that healed themselves in Canada with medical marijuana. They healed themselves from cancer. If it's not a fake, which it's hard to believe it's a fake, because you'd have to get a whole lot of elderly actors at that time. So because that documentary is quite old, So yeah, of course, it could have been in the interest of the cannabis industry that somebody creates a documentary like this and it's fake, but let's just assume it's real. Okay, so the guy's really still an activist, that was the first encounter of me thinking, okay, so why is there a documentary of, I don't know, 2 hours or something, of elderly people telling that half of them got healed completely from cancer with cannabis, and half of them are telling they had a massive improvement, So I just let it dwell on me and started, being intrigued about it, and so started to ask questions. And so another story was when I arrived in the US, before we met, like the time when we met, I first landed in New York, and I took an RV and did the road trip all by myself from New York to LA, And on that road, I never do that. Yes, yeah, that's how I got there. And then in Chicago, in Holland, where I visited some friends, I met this guy also in an RV. Sorry, that's bullshit. It was my RV, and I took a couple with me in that they on Craigslist. I found them because I wanted to save money, and they were a really cool couple, young couple, maybe like, I don't know, in their 30s maximum, and he had no car. I had to take me as a like for the trip from Holland to Chicago, because he had lost all of his property in all of his cars and everything, because they had taken it away from him because he had a marijuana farm. And they were a super sweet couple, and we got along really well. At the end, they even invited me to pizza in Chicago, so I had Chicago pizza for the first time, which was delicious. And they told me, so I asked them, did you ever have any encounter with healing? And they told me about a couple of healings, and yes, his grandma was healed of that, and cancer was also part of it. And so, second anecdote. Okay. So now first anecdotal evidence, one anecdotal evidence. and one documentary, right? And so as I got a lot, like to make a long story short, over the years, I and met maybe like between 5 and 10 people that have healed people from that were saying that they had healed people that had cancer with cannabis, and lots of research in very known and good universities. For example, the University of, I think it's called Computenza, from one of my students in Switzerland, who's very high up IT programmer for a $50 billion companies, and is my client, language lessons, and he told me this university is really good in Spain. And we have here evidence, for example, that rats and mice, if you give them cannabis oil, you have to ingest it, like take it orally. You can't smoke it in order for it to heal cancer, right? So their tumors are 3 times bigger if they don't take it, and 3 times smaller if they take it, right? And there's no clinical evidence. So people always say, but there's no evidence. There is no evidence, no evidence. There's heaps of evidence, it's already proven for epilepsy and other sicknesses, but they can't prove it for cancer because there's no clinical studies, and because clinical studies are simply not allowed. So that's, again, this is the problem with the media and science. If science doesn't allow itself to do science, or if the politics doesn't allow to do science, then we have only anecdotal evidence. This is our best evidence. And then people are saying, but it's not scientific. Then that's total bullshit, because it's not scientific because there's no chance for it to be scientific, So, and, of course, pharmaceutical companies are trying to block, or at least not investing into it, because healing one person with cancer costs about $3,000 on average, and 300,000 are being made with chemotherapy. So, yeah.
Yeah,
and there's more. I will tell you more in a second, but I'll let you say something. Yeah.
To follow the thing for sure.
Yeah.
It's a follow money thing for sure. And that's going back to the research. It's like, how is this stuff being applied? And yeah, people have been doing research for a long period of time, and it's not, it doesn't fit in to that realm. And chemo, the percentage that chemo helps is a very low number. It's a very, very low number.
Yeah. And it also kills a lot of people. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's it's like a high level of poison right there that it's doing it. But I know somebody that survived chemo 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
One of my mentors, this dear lady, that was like game changing for me, and she survived it.
You should call her Miss Chernobyl.
What was that?
You should call her Miss Chernobyl.
Well, it's interesting because in between, I think it was the second time I had a conversation with her, I was like, yeah, now's a good time to make some changes so you don't get it a third time. And that's on the conversation, she was agreeing she wasn't going to make changes. Because here's something that
behind the smoke.
Here's something that pisses people off, is that I say that I believe cancer is cured. All of us have cancerous cells in our bodies.
Yeah.
And less than 5% to 1% have it. And it takes a long time it takes like 20 years to grow in your body to the fact that, I'm sure mainstream media medicine can see it faster now, but it takes like about many years to grow to that point when you can make changes.
When you say 1 to 5% have it, what do you mean by that?
Well, I'm just saying that people that actually have cancer that we know. Those.
Okay, yeah, but actually 2/3 of all Americans will get it, and 1 out of 2 of all Europeans will get it.
Okay, so let's talk about the people that have. It's probably like less than 5%. Like if you took 95 people, less than 5 people have cancer right now. Talking right now.
Oh yeah. Of course, like if you take kids and 40-year-olds and everyone, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, it's cured, and it's your body being out of alignment, and a lot of the sensitivities you can say with cannabis that makes you feel a certain way and everything, that can make you, that paranoia which I'm not a big fan of, but that paranoia could all of a sudden get you to go get checked or whatever the case is. And when you're closing out certain ways of doing things, for instance, I was having a conversation. I've had a lot of conversations with people on my left about, I was like, you can't tell me that astrology isn't science. Because there's research. They've researched for the longest time of where the planets are. Are there astrologers that are quacks, that are crazy? I'm good crazy, but like bad crazy, and don't really have much knowledge? 100%. Like that's in every industry. But research of the planets and informations, and I believe that for my formula chaos, if you take yourself out of your world and then you go into another world, like I learned so much by observing flat earthers.
So you believe in you know, the Virgo and being that kind of, and like I
take it like I take every science with a grain of salt.
Like
I see certain patterns that are going, and different things that are going. But do I like die on that hill as far as, oh, this is true because my astrologer told me not to travel at this time because I was born on this date? No. I don't do that with anything.
I'm glad about that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is,
and most people that fervently defend it also don't.
I say it's not about being pro or anti. It's about certain situations. Because if you take that from, this is a person that's studying something that I'm not studying, and they're giving me advice, I take that one in with, okay, that would be true in my situation. Let me meditate on that. Oh, this doesn't apply to me, and I don't even know if it's true. I take it in like that. I don't take it in as factual information. Just like I wouldn't take it, somebody says, oh, cannabis will make you commit suicide. I'm not going to take that in as 100% factual information, but I will observe and listen to it. Because I'm not somebody that's just also going to fall because everybody in society is saying that this is something a certain way. Because in meditation, they say it teaches you to be detached, but psychopaths are detached. I believe that the goal of meditation is to be connected and attached. Be embraced, and cannabis can help with that. Just like feeling something, okay, I'm paranoid. Okay, I'm gonna need to meditate on why I'm paranoid right now. Oh, maybe this is just making me more aware of my surroundings, and this paranoia is like always there, but I'm just present to it when I'm this. Let me go ahead and heal that paranoia. Breathe into it. Oh, shit's not that bad. Oh, I got tears in my eyes. Tears. I mean, society will like rip on me being too emotional for a crime, but no, tears are like holy water healing me. You can go through that process.
Yeah.
Because I come across a lot of people that I don't sense anything's wrong with them, but they might be over medicated, but they'll say something is like, oh, I can't smoke weed because I get really paranoid, like really fucking bad. But for me, I'm saying, okay, don't do that, but you got to address that paranoia. You got to address that paranoia, and just like cancer, it may take them, say they're 18, 19, 20, 21. It may take them until they're 35 for all of a sudden that to come to the surface. Does that make sense?
Yeah, total sense. Yeah, total sense. I also know that paranoia state when smoking weed, and it is really good to know that it is caused by it's a good exercise, good spiritual exercise to have the feeling, but at the same time no, this is just a feeling, you know, for example, or this is caused by chemicals, or you know, it's okay to feel it, or it's okay to dive into it and completely feel it without even thinking about detaching yourself from it. You know, any way you want to go in your mind. I think when you're a lot more fearful if you don't have those mechanisms available to you, even when you smoke it. You know what I mean? Then you might like think, oh, I can't get out of here. And this is exactly like, this is the second part. You know, my mom had cancer last year, and so yeah, my analysis of medical cannabis or cannabis as an oil, Rick Simpson oil, for example, which is the one my mom tried, is the one, or no, I lost my train of thoughts, but what I wanted to say is like that my mom, when she took that, she had that moment where she was paranoid because she took too much. She took way more than I told her to take, and then she had a kind of a trip, and I had to calm her down and say, don't worry, like it's really going to go away. And it exactly did. It exactly just went away. And she was so worried. And this is exactly, she didn't have those mechanisms in that moment. But yeah, my mom now says that she firmly believes that this was the reason why she doesn't have a single, not any cancer. She has super great results at the moment. Of course, I cannot 100% attribute it to her taking the oil because we had the operation. So it was, I don't know how to say it in English.
Successful?
What kind of cancer it was, it's, shit, I will put it in the.
Yeah,
it's a cancer that you can operate. She was operated, so of course the operation removed the cancer. Yeah, but still her values, they were not so good. And then when she took the oil, and she also had a radical change of her diet, because I also told her also everything about how to diet in a way that's so that cancer has no chance. So these were the three things she did, and her values are amazing. Like she hasn't had anything. That's not to say that it can change again. So I don't have a direct proof, but yeah. So now I remember what I wanted to say before. So I'm not saying that it works for everyone. The highest percentage I've heard about it working is 90%. The lowest is 0%. Like skeptics say it doesn't do anything, right? But nobody says it's really bad for you. I mean, the worst thing is really that paranoia that some people say. But this is not, when you read that, people think that you smoke it and you become a paranoid person. That's bullshit. It's just like you smoke it, and in that moment you're paranoid for a moment, and then it stops again and you're fine again. People read that a side effect of marijuana is paranoia. They think, when they read that people actually become paranoid for the rest of their life. And so this is the real problem, that when the scientists inform, because of course there's also business behind it, pharmaceutical industry, for example, paying people and so on, they say no, side effect is, and they read that in books, doctors that haven't even taken it ever, and don't have any experiential experience with it, think that when they read side effects, paranoia, they think they get that for a lifetime, and this is just the moment you're getting it. And actually it can be good for you. It's like ayahuasca. Have you heard of ayahuasca? It's a trauma, but it's like 10 years of psychotherapy. Apparently all the doctors and professors are going to South America to take it. And so that's all I can say. I cannot tell you 100% that it's working, but I would tell every single person that has cancer, please try it. There's nothing there's almost no risk.
So could we get personal for a minute?
Yeah.
So you lost a lot of focus when you were talking about your mom and her situation for cancer.
Yeah. It's possible. Yeah.
See that there's still a part of you that's like overreacting, like it's happening right now. Overreacting sounds very judgmental, but it is very emotional of it, that it totally it totally got you out of balance. So for the people that are in those situations, I'm more focused on them. I want to know, like, were you the one that did the cannabis research and went out there and found that, like, when your mom was going through this? Were you the one that did that?
I don't understand.
Were you the one that picked? Did you pick the oil?
Yeah. I did the whole thing. Yeah.
You picked it. Okay. So I want you to take us through that process. And anytime you kind of like feel your body shutting down, and this is for the people in the audience, this isn't for you. Anytime you feel yourself shutting down in there, I want you to just take a nice deep breath in and balance yourself. For the people in the audience, talk about that process you went through to help heal your mom.
Well, okay. So first I had to find out where in Spain to get, because it's illegal. And so there in Spain, you have So I wasn't going to take anything over the border or through the plane. So I had to first find out how in Spain I can get access to weed. And I knew that Tenerife is one of the biggest weed smoking places in the world. So I knew that it was readily available and also really cheap compared to Switzerland. It's actually 3 times cheaper here. So, and I don't know, I cannot tell you everything because I have to protect some people, you know, but in Spain, there is, they managed to do that in I think a great way, because there's still so much resistance in society among older people. Because
I have somebody I follow that's here that was just in Spain for an event, so I think it's changed. I think they're legal.
No, yeah, I'm going to tell you how it works. It's like there's cannabis clubs, and these are private clubs, and there it is legal to consume, to sell, and they're everywhere. So I found out that in her city, there's like literally one 5 minutes away from here, another one 10 minutes away from here. They're everywhere, right? So the police doesn't do anything unless when you step out of the door, you're in the illegal zone. When you're inside that place, you can buy, you can smoke, you can do whatever you want, consume whatever you want, and the police doesn't.
So you're buying, it's like a bar.
Like a bar.
Drinks outside of a bar.
Yeah, it's like as if compared to if drinking was only allowed inside the bar. Actually, in America, it is like this, right? You paper bag, yeah. Okay.
You guys.
Yes.
I mean, you're not paper bag. The paper bag, so they can't see it.
Yeah, I know. So it's not the same thing, yeah. But in Spain, it's really when you're outside the door, the police can actually bust you. But they don't. They leave people alone, you know. They know the places, and they're not gonna go bust people there, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's very lenient. It's quite good compared to other countries. Yeah. Yeah. It's not as good as in Switzerland, but it's better than in Germany, I think. Yeah. And Germany is also okay. You know, I mean, also everything could be better. Depends where in Germany. Bavaria is a bad place for cannabis. Yeah. But yeah, so that was the process, and then I got like a huge amount. Like I spent 1,500 or something to make that oil, and I wanted to check the quality, because people can spray it with hairspray, right? And that would be really toxic. So I was afraid of that, and so I asked my hairdresser who takes CBD and smokes weed to look at it to tell me if it's good quality. Because I've never been a big weed smoker, you know. So I know it, and I've done it a bunch of times, maybe 100 times or something. I don't know, but not like regularly, like some of my friends do, right? So, I wouldn't be able to take a plant and tell if it's good quality or what kind of plant it is. I know there's sativa and indica and so on, but he was able to look at it and tell me that's amazing quality. Don't worry at all. There's no hairspray in there. It's great. So. And I also tried. Before that, I found out that at the university here, there's a professor that analyzes drugs, and you can just send it to him, and he tells you whether that's clean or not. So that's also great. You can also look out for those opportunities. I contacted him. He never got back at me, but that is not to say that you can contact maybe someone in your area who can analyze stuff like that and make sure that it's clean, because that's important, right? When you give it to a patient, right? And even then, you still have to also think about the legal consequences when you help someone. But for me, I don't give a fuck. You know, if I can help someone not to die, then okay, bring me to prison. I don't care if they later go against you. I know it's dangerous, but I still tell you, because I think that's something that you should think about. And
also, I'm a pushing the envelope in this space, but I don't fly with marijuana. Like I buy it where I'm going, and if it's not legal where I'm going, then I don't. Yeah,
and that's with everything. If you're not able to say no to something, then you're an addict. So you should always have the freedom. And you know, I've for example, the last month I didn't even drink alcohol. I tried to make a super clean month, completely clean. And you know, I've done everything. I've done more than marijuana. I've done lots of things. I've tried lots of things, and I think everything has a place in, you know, not everything, but most of drugs around can also have a healing effect depending on what. So I think we should be much more open about, you know, opening up society for it and use it for different purposes. But at the same time, I think many people, because it's great, it's fun and so on, get addicted to it. And then they don't realize many people get addicted to it. And so more and more, I also start to see I start to see why the state prohibits it, because some people are just out of balance and are not able to say no to, you know, because it's like, it feels so good to be clean. Then every day is like, remember when you were a kid and you didn't take anything, you know, like you felt good, you know, I mean, you didn't have to take anything. Your body does the whole thing. You don't have to even coffee or tea. You don't, or tea maybe is good, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But back to cannabis, yeah. So, and then we did that together, and I grounded it, and then I put it into the, you know, then 99% alcohol, which is used for drinks. Like for, you need to buy it, I guess, for the 99% alcohol that you use for drinks, to make drinks, right? Not the 99% alcohol to clean your car, you know? So I wasn't sure, 100% sure about that, but just to be sure, you take that and then you put the whole thing in there, and then it disintegrates, you know, and then you have to make sure that you do that outside and boil it off, and make sure you don't burn it. Make sure you do it with a ventilator because it's highly explosive. And then at the end, you have like a honey type oil. And that's, and then what's really, really important, the most important thing, if you ever do that and want to help someone, is make sure you take the lowest quantity possible of that highly concentrated oil, because and just taking a little bit more, it's throwing you on a trip, you know, like it's so potent, it makes you so high, it's really scary, you know. I tried it myself, you know, and so you have to make sure you take just the smallest quantity possible. When I say the smallest quantity possible, it's really, you take a toothpick and just barely that you can see it on the toothpick. That's how you start, you know. If that doesn't do anything, next day you can do at the most twice the amount, you know. And you slowly work your way towards it, because it has THC in it and it's concentrated. And the THC fights off the cancer cell. And the goal is that you have a pea-size amount of this kind of honey a day if you're really sick, if you really have a bad cancer, right? And then on top of that, CBD. And I even have, I think it's 600 milligrams of CBD a day you should take. That a doctor, I watched a doctor in Germany, because now it's for badly suffering patients, cannabis is allowed in Germany. So doctors can actually prescribe cannabis and cannabis oil and so on. So I watched this doctor, and he said, I think the amount was per day maximum 600 milligram of CBD. Yeah, on top, because CBD is not psychoactive, and so of that you can take more, because the other thing really, it goes into your brain, right? It's like making you high.
It's funny, a lot of the things that you're saying that you're experiencing. Both Bob Marley and another guy in the Whalers, Peter Tosh, childhood friends. They both died in the early 80s. So Bob died in 82, and I think Peter Tosh died in 86, and and Bob died of cancer. Let's be honest about that.
But because he smoked nicotine in the joint, that's the whole, you know, that's the thing, that nicotine is devilish, you know, it's like the worst shit. And then cannabis is something good. Actually, UCLA did a really well done research on, I don't know how many, sorry that I'm interrupting you, but on smoking, and it's the first thing that people ever smoked that didn't cause lung cancer, but even the people had less lung cancer than non-smokers just smoking pure marijuana. So that shows that we evolutionary are in symbiosis with this, you know, like, yeah.
Well, yeah, one of the things I wanted to go back in there, but they said a lot of things that research has finally caught up with. So they were saying it a long time ago. And then we've all also acknowledged there's a lot of people blocking that this research would hit, even with psilocybin and all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff blocking, and that I thought would never be opening up. And all of a sudden, that's taken some quantum jumps in the last, and that I've noticed in the last year, as far as, and there are even now some regions in here. So I'm going to put the information below, but I have a cannabis doctor that's out of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
that I'll put his information in there that anybody can go to him if they want to take more of the, which I think is important, take more of the
Yes, really,
science.
doctor that is pro that is the best person you can talk to, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, because I mean, some of the things that you're talking specifically for your mom, it's like, no, you don't try and guess that stuff at home.
Yeah, you don't have to do it. You can also buy it for expensive money. You can buy it in Holland. You can let it sent to you. I have a friend whose mom had cancer. They did it. His mom got a lot better after that. She was really on the downfall, and they got the RSO oil from Amsterdam because in Holland it's legal, right? Everybody knows. But even sending it from Holland is not legal. But you know, you can send a lot of stuff that is illegal, so you can still get it. Yeah, and they did. Oh no, I think they even went there. And it doesn't matter, but yeah, you can also buy it on the internet. RSO oil, right? Rick Simpson oil, for example. And anything, you know, anything that's edible, like it has to be inside the grease, like inside the fat, you know, in order for you to ingest it. Yeah. And so even like brownies and that is already has an effect against cancer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
Creams also, like you can do applications on top.
How would you put put the cream on butter?
Yeah, like butter. Yeah, I've seen like videos on YouTube, plenty of videos of people testifying that they healed their breast cancer like that. But I've never met anyone. Yeah, or maybe
I said you're missing.
Yeah.
You're missing my joke. I said you put it on your sweater.
No.
Because you rubbed it on your face and then you rubbed it on your sweater. So I was like, yeah. For our audience and especially for me, you got to take off your shirt and then like rub it on your skin so I know, or else I'll put it on my sweater.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
Yeah, so much, but yeah. Yeah, I encourage people to go on YouTube and just type in cannabis cancer. Rick Simpson oil. Rick Simpson, watch the documentary. I watched several documentaries. You know, like also understand. Yeah, there's something else I want to say. You have to understand how business works and how the economy works in order to understand why this is reaching us so late. So the reason we're knowing this now is because we have the internet. And the information is spreading very fast.
The internet's not perfect, but it's
yes, and people have tried it and so on. Yeah, of course. But yeah, you have to understand that the system is run by money, and everything that makes money is prevalent, is growing. You know, it's similar to the tithe in churches. You know about the tithe in churches? Like there's a lot of churches that teach the tithe, like give 10% to the church, right? And it's totally unscientific, and it's not based on the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, there was 4 tithes. In Israel, it was a tax system. It made total sense back then. It was 1 for the widows, 1 for the priests, 1 for partying once a year in Jerusalem. And not every one of them was every year, you know. There was 4 altogether. And altogether, it was 23% of your income a year. So there was a tax system of Israel, you know. And now they're using it and saying it's just 1. And of course, the churches that are teaching this are growing like crazy because they have money to grow, you know. And so the lie is growing because the lie makes money, you know. And so it's not always like this. Sometimes the truth makes money, but in this case, a lie makes money. And it is totally anti-gospel also, the tithe, because if you just mix one like Paul writes, it is grace. And if you just put one condition into it, then you mess the whole thing up. Like I'm paraphrasing, right? So it's not grace anymore. If you have one religious condition in order to, you know, to fulfill, then it's not love and grace anymore. So he would get, like the writer of the New Testament, if he knew about the tithe, what they're doing today, he would just be mad, like in the letter of Galatians. So I'm taking this as a metaphor for weed.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you want to finish that part? Or you got that?
Yeah, let me finish. So the pharmaceutical industry, I live in the capital of pharmaceutics. I'm not saying that everything these people are doing is bad, but the problem is the system. Nobody can stop it, not even the CEO. not even the family that owns the business, you know, because it's a system that's run by money. And if it doesn't make
Also,
money, yeah,
I want to put something in real quick,
yeah,
but because of the internet and because of where things are, there's lots of people that are still calling on those systems. So I don't necessarily blame the system, because people want that quick, instead of going to the gym, instead of eating the right food, they want that pill. So the system is working because there's still people that are on that.
yeah,
So
of course, yeah,
the internet to open yourself to different ways is important. I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking more to the audience.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, of course, if everybody would be 100% in tune with loving kindness, even if we had the worst systems, they would just disappear, you know? So yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, so yeah, just to finish up the thought, it's basically like if something makes money, like let's say chemotherapy, I read one time that it makes 300,000 per patient, 300,000 per patient, okay? So now you have cannabis. I researched it. It's about, like, for my mom, I invested 1,500 so far, and she still has enough for 5 years. I have the feeling, because she takes very little. And but I read it was 3,000 per patient. Okay, so we have 100 times less. Yeah, 100 times less. So, and then you cannot even have a patent on it, because it's a plant. So it's basically zero. It's 300,000 making money versus zero. So now let's have a company that says, hey, let's invest all our money into cannabis. Let's make zero profit, you know? Yay, the CEO is not going to say yay, you know? And also this company, even if there is one out there, it is not the $50 billion company that grows, you know? It's not going to be the $50 billion company later. So you're never going to hear about them. So this is how the system destroys us. The health system is not supposed to be inside the profit system. That's
so
clear to me.
I play the devil's advocate on this situation.
Go for it.
And that's why I think the healing is so important. Is there's an energy, let's call it the Illuminati, let's call it the system, there's an energy that wants to block you from your goals. Don't feed that. Don't feed that energy. Be aware of it, but then move towards what heals you, move towards what keeps everything that you're going towards sustainable. Because there's people out there that love people more. Because that going into that rabbit hole and sustainably staying in that rabbit hole is very, very unhealthy for you. And I'm talking
basically what you're saying is, don't talk about what is not good, but go and talk about what is good, or what.
I'm going to take it for an outside thing. Is I know certain things that happens for African Americans, and I do have altercations with police officers, but I don't see myself as a victim, and I definitely don't see a sustainable victim.
I
see myself in a place that this is happening right now, and we're going to resolve this in a safe manner, that they're safe, I'm safe, and everybody around safe. And I'm with my life. So the same thing is, be aware that there are fucked up shit in the system. Be aware there are like even bad cannabis people that are putting like hairspray and stuff. I didn't know about that, but are putting hairspray and different stuff. Be aware of that stuff.
Yeah, to make people addicted.
Take your energy to the focus of where you want to be. Spend the most time in the positive sides of stuff, instead of spending too much time going down the rabbit hole about all the system stuff. Use that to create better systems. If you don't like Amazon, don't complain about it. You can boycott it, but don't sit there complaining about it. And every time I say, oh, I bought this on Amazon, oh, you shouldn't buy this on Amazon, and everything like that. Okay, create a better company.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. They also say that, and we're almost over time, but they also say that in order for people to trust you, you have to spend at least twice as much time on praising them than on criticizing them. So yeah, and I know a lot of people that criticize more than they praise people. Praise is hard. Praise is a lot harder, because you have to.
Also in the law of attraction, I had a conversation out here with two guys that I had seen around the neighborhood for a while, who during COVID, they started having their business meetings. There was one guy at real estate, one guy at title. We had a really good conversation yesterday. but one of the guys was saying, it's like, yeah, once you like put a lot of energy towards that, then you start attracting more of those situations. So I heard Abraham Hicks say she never gets involved in lawsuits because every time you attract one lawsuit, every time you get in the energy of one lawsuit, you attract 10 more of that situation. So it's better to spend time with the more positive stuff that you want to attract.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I think, like there's not so, and also Illuminati. One thing, you research about the Illuminati. I'm a great fan of the Illuminati. I researched it. I know what it is. It's not what people think. It's Weishaupt, Mr. Weishaupt. Research him. Great guy. He started the Illuminati together with his students in Germany. And he you know the story?
No, I don't. No, I don't. Do we have time for that?
That's why actually some celebrities are into the Illuminati, because it's a great thing. and like like there's so much shit on the internet. Some people just hyped this thing up and made it a bad thing. I think, that's my opinion. I'm not sure. I didn't spend so much time on it.
Whether that's the Illuminati you're talking about, or there's an energy that
no, this is the foundation of the Illuminati. So this is a German professor with his students who wanted to overthrow or like he wanted to basically lobby the German government, which was a dictatorship or still a monarchy. France had become a democracy. America was a democracy. It was that time. And in Western Germany, where I'm from, there was the first parliament, but it was a war, and it was just a very short democracy, and just only a little part of Germany, And then that was, I think, 1850. You still can go to that parliament. In Frankfurt was the parliament. And in Berlin, they tried to influence Berlin to make it a democracy as well. And that was Weishaupt and his students, and they founded the Illuminati, a secret thing. And one day they wrote letters to each other, secret letters and so on. One day there was a lightning hitting the post guy with the horses, the carriage, and all the letters flew out, and then they got busted. And Weishaupt, and we don't know exactly, but he fled to America, and the owl on the American dollar is from that. He knew the secretary of Washington, so they were somehow in contact, and so they were great people trying to do great things, great new systems for people, and now people are just turning it all around and saying that owl on the dollar is something bad.
I look into those things and I find out whatever we want to name that in individual conversations.
Yeah,
because we're opening it up, because we're I think it's not dangerous, may not be the right word, but it's sometimes it's not good for conversations for who this is going out to, because I might have a belief about the Illuminati, and then all of a sudden it totally changed the perception of what you just had said. So I think it's important to name whatever that common enemy is during a conversation, and then like connect the dots between what they're doing. And also, any organization, some organizations start with the purest intent. And
then it can change, of course. And I don't know if there's any evil organizations out there. Yeah.
So we have to look at what they are now, not just what the symptoms look like. And a lot of times I find common ground with people, and then I stretch them.
Okay. So let's wrap it up. Otherwise, it's going to be over an hour. Or do you want to say something still?
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.